Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so if you've ever looked at a blank page, or maybe, a big pile of case notes, and felt that sort of dread sink in before a big writing task.
Oh yeah, that feeling.
Exactly. Then you know why tackling the OET writing subtest can feel like, well, climbing a mountain. It definitely has this reputation for being tough.
It does.
But here's the good news. It is absolutely doable. More than doable, actually. It's about having the right strategies in your pocket.
That's spot on. And think of this deep dive as kind of your fast track to getting really well informed on this specific test. We're not just handing you a list.
Right.
No, we're going to lay out a systematic approach, really stress why planning is, well, non-negotiable, and show you where putting in focused practice makes the biggest difference. We want to, demystify the format and the tone you need.
And where's this info coming from?
It's all drawn directly from a guide that's specifically focused on mastering this writing subtest.
Okay, perfect. So, our mission today, cut through all the confusion, pull out the absolute must-knows, the real nuggets of wisdom, and basically arm you with the confidence and the skills you need to walk into that OET writing test feeling not just ready, but actually poised to do really well.
Let's do it.
So let's pull back the curtain then. What does this task actually ask you to do?
At its heart, you're writing a very specific kind of professional letter. It could be a referral, maybe a patient transfer, a discharge summary, or even sometimes an advice letter. And the key thing, everything you write has to come straight from the case notes they give you.
Nothing extra.
Exactly. You've got 45 minutes for the whole thing. It's specific to your profession, and it demands a formal clinical style. So that's the what. But how do you know you're actually hitting those targets?
Well, that's where the assessment criteria come in. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
Many people see the OET's 6 criteria as like separate boxes to tick.
Yeah, I can see that. But the real key, the sort of secret sauce, is understanding how deeply connected they are. It's not just 6 things. It's a holistic look at your letter.
Okay.
So you've got purpose, content, conciseness and clarity, genre and style, organization and layout, and language. And think about it, right? Conciseness and clarity isn't just about being brief. No, it directly feeds into your purpose. If your letter is confusing, even if the grammar is perfect, it fails its main job, So getting how they all work together from the very beginning is, well, it's fundamental.
That makes a lot of sense. Knowing the target changes how you aim, basically.
Yeah.
So, okay, we understand the criteria now. Where do we actually start the process? Like, before you even write a single word, what should you be doing?
Right, the pre-writing. This part is absolutely crucial. You can't skip it. First step, you have to really dig into the task prompt.
The instructions bit.
Exactly. That's where you find that who are you writing this letter to? And just as important, the why. What's the specific reason you're writing?
Okay, who and why. Got it.
Then you need to figure out the reader's role. What do they already know? Are they a specialist who gets all the technical jargon in that field? Or maybe a GP who needs more of a broader picture?
Okay. Tailoring it.
Precisely. And finally, think about your relationship. Is this a colleague, a peer, or maybe a consultant you're referring up to? Because tailoring your content, your tone, based on all that, it's paramount. It decides what info is crucial versus what's, just noise or needs simplifying.
Wow, okay. So it sounds like a huge amount of the important work happens before you even start composing sentences.
Definitely. Sets you up for success.
So once you've nailed down the who and the why, the next obvious question is, how do you organize it all? Having a clear structure in mind before starting must make a massive difference, right? What does that standard structure look like?
Oh, it's a total game changer. It takes away so much of the guesswork. The standard structure our sources suggest is super efficient. You start with a formal greeting, dear Dr. Smith, something like that.
Simple enough.
Then, right away, a really concise purpose paragraph. Make it clear up front, like, I am writing to refer, or I am writing to update you on.
Get straight to the point.
Exactly. Then comes the main body. This is where you lay out all the relevant background, the clinical details, pulling straight from those case notes.
The meaty part.
That's it. After that, you need clear recommendations. What are you actually asking the recipient to do? Be specific. And then you wrap it up with a polite, professional closing.
Okay, standard letter stuff.
Mostly, but there's a little detail in the sign-off. Use yours sincerely if you know the recipient's name, like our Dr. Smith. But if it's an unnamed role, maybe the ward manager or the community nurse, you use yours faithfully.
That's a good distinction to remember. Sincerely for names, faithfully for roles.
Small thing, but shows attention to detail.
Okay, that structure feels like a solid framework. Now let's talk about the actual words on the page.
Yeah.
The language, the tone. What's maybe the biggest mistake people make when trying to sound professional in the OET?
That's a great question. I think the biggest misconception is that professional means using overly complex or really academic language.
Right, trying too hard maybe.
Exactly. In reality, for OET, it means keeping an objective clinical tone throughout. You'll often use the passive voice where it makes sense because that shifts the focus onto the patient and the actions rather than, you.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. So instead of, I admitted the patient, you'd probably write, the patient was admitted. See how it shifts the focus?
Yeah, I do. Less about I did this.
Precisely. And crucially, you absolutely have to avoid slipping in personal opinions or informal chit-chat.
Like what?
Well, our sources give great examples. You wouldn't say a patient is feeling bad. That's too vague, too informal.
So what would you say?
You'd use something clinically precise, like experiencing general malaise, or instead of a lot of pain, which is subjective. Significant pain. It's about choosing words that are accurate, objective, and fit that professional healthcare setting.
Okay, general malaise, not feeling bad, significant pain, not a lot of pain.
Yeah.
That really clarifies the level of precision needed. But then, how do you stop the letter just sounding like a dry list of facts? How do you make it flow so that the reader can easily follow the patient's story?
Great point. That's where linking devices, or you might call them connectors, are absolutely your best friends.
Connectors. Okay.
Yeah, they're like the glue. They create cohesion, make the whole thing hang together logically so it's much easier to read and understand. Think about them in categories. Okay, so for time, you've got words like initially, subsequently, following this, at present, simple but effective.
Right, sequencing things.
Exactly. Then for cause and effect, you'd use things like therefore, as a result, consequently.
Makes sense.
For showing contrast, words like however, although, despite this are really powerful.
Okay.
And for adding more information, addition, use furthermore, in addition, moreover. Our guide actually gives a neat little example. Initially, Mrs. Green presented with, however, her symptoms subsequently worsened. As a result, antibiotics were commenced.
You can feel how those words just guide you through, right?
Yeah, totally smooths it right out. It's amazing how just a few words can do that.
It really is. They make a huge difference to readability.
Okay, so connectors are key for flow. But let's get really practical now. The clock is ticking in the exam, 45 minutes isn't long. How do you manage that time effectively? This is where a lot of people feel the pressure, isn't it?
Absolutely. Time management is critical, and it's not just about speed writing. It's about being smart, strategic.
Strategic how?
Well, the suggestion from our sources is a pretty clear breakdown. Spend about 5 minutes right at the start, purely on analyzing the case notes.
Just 5 minutes.
Yep, but it's an intense 5 minutes. You're not just reading, you're actively highlighting the essential information, and this is crucial mentally or even physically, crossing out the stuff that's not relevant to the task.
Pre-editing almost. Exactly. You cut the clutter before you even start writing. Then you allocate a solid 30 minutes for actually writing the letter.
Okay.
And that leaves you a really valuable 10 minutes at the end, purely for editing and proofreading. Checking grammar, spelling, making sure it all makes sense.
5 analyze, 30 write, 10 edit.
That's the framework. So the tips are highlight essentials, consciously ignore or eliminate non-essentials, and maybe even quickly jot down a mini outline of your letter structure before you start writing the prose.
That 5 minutes of analyzing and eliminating sounds like it could save you way more time down the line, like a secret weapon.
It really can be. It prevents you from going off track.
Okay, to make all of this, the structure, the tone, the timing really concrete, let's look at an actual example. A sample letter seems like the best way to see it all in action.
Yeah, absolutely. Theory is one thing, seeing it applied is another, so our sources provide a good one. A sample letter discharged to GP for a patient, Mrs. Sheila Edwards.
Okay, Mrs. Edwards. Discharge to GP.
Right. It starts, Dear Dr. Thompson, nice and direct. And the purpose is stated immediately, updating him about Mrs. Edwards, who's 74 and has just finished her rehab after fracturing her right hip.
Clear purpose. Check.
Then it gives key dates, admitted June 15th for surgery, a femoral neck repair. It outlines her progress over the 6 weeks she was in rehab, mentioning physio and OT involvement.
So relevant background.
Exactly. Then it describes her condition right now at discharge. Uses a frame mostly independent, wound is healed, meds haven't changed, all crucial info for the GP.
Okay, current status covered.
Yep. And it finishes with a clear request, asks the GP for a follow-up appointment in 2 weeks, and offers to answer any questions. Signed, yours sincerely, because Dr. Thompson is named, by Nurse Helen Grant.
And why is this considered a good example?
Well, the commentary points out exactly what we've been talking about. The purpose is crystal clear right in the intro. The content is chronological where needed, and totally relevant, no extra waffle. The tone is consistently formal and clinical, just right for professional communication. And it flows well, uses those linking words nicely to connect the different pieces of information. It basically ticks all the boxes.
That really does bring it all together. Okay, so you've written your letter, you've tried to apply all these strategies, but how do you know? How do you check if you've actually hit the mark before you submit it or finish your practice?
That's where self-assessment becomes incredibly powerful. The best way is to use a checklist that basically mirrors those official assessment criteria we talked about earlier.
Like grading your own work.
Sort of, yeah. But it's not just about finding errors. It's about consciously checking if you've met the requirements. It builds confidence and helps you pinpoint where you might need more practice.
What's on this checklist?
It directly reflects the criteria. You'd ask yourself, okay, purpose is my reason for writing instantly clear.
Right.
Content, have I stuck only to relevant details? Anything irrelevant creep in?
Ruthless editing.
Yep. Clarity, is it precise, concise, easy to grasp quickly?
Okay. Oh, style is the tone. Formal. Objective. Appropriate for who I'm writing to.
Consistent tone.
Structure is the layout logical. Does it guide the reader smoothly?
The flow we talked about.
And finally, language. Is my grammar right? Are the tenses correct? Is the vocabulary accurate and professional?
Wow, that's thorough.
It is, but using that kind of checklist regularly is probably the best way to actively improve and make sure you're hitting those standards consistently.
Yeah.
It makes you your own quality control.
Okay, we have definitely covered a lot today. From staring down that initial, maybe intimidating, blank page, all the way through to the fine details of crafting a really effective OET writing subtest letter. It is undeniably a challenge, but as we've seen, it's absolutely not insurmountable, it's masterable.
Definitely masterable. By really sticking to that structured approach, analyzing first, planning carefully, writing with that clinical precision, and then rigorously checking your own work, you really will build both the confidence and the practical skills you need to do well. Absolutely. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Beyond just passing the OET, how could applying this same kind of structured thinking, focusing on clarity, on precision, on really understanding your audience, how could that elevate all of your professional communication long after the test is done?
That's a really interesting question to ponder.
Something for you all to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.